If there's going to be an angle in WWE where a heel got suspended by the authority figure and the babyface demanded he not suspend him, but let me get him in the ring, I'd expect Cody to be involved. I kind of think that's where we're heading right now, Javier, with Drew McIntyre, Nick Aldis getting fed up with him, interfering in the match, the main event, the impromptu and unadvertised, made at the beginning of the show, executed later in the main event, Cody versus Aleister Black match. Aldis getting frustrated with Drew interfering and says, "You're suspended." Drew saying, "My back was against the wall. I've been cornered. Everyone's against me." I assume Cody's going to, don't suspend him. Let me get him in the ring one more time and shut him up for good. But maybe not. Maybe Drew's taking some time off. Maybe there's some reason they want him gone for a while. But it is an old traditional angle. And if that's where they're going, I'm a fan of it. Obviously, we all knew. We didn't just guess or speculate. We knew that with the names dropped of Drew and Priest, that they would get involved in the main event match. We're not going to get a finish between Cody and Priest in their first TV match, unadvertised, without build. Things went predictably. They also went logically, though. I mean, as predictable as it was. It's logical Drew would be a hothead and interfere, and it's also logical Priest would come out and want to go after Aleister Black. So your thoughts on all that, Javier?
I wouldn't be so sure necessarily that Cody will demand a match. I agree with you that that's generally the way it goes, but lately there have been a lot of baby faces kind of doing the heelish thing. I actually noted it down because I noticed a few times. You had on Monday Punk ducking Logan Paul, saying he didn't want to wrestle him. I know that was basis of a joke, but still. Yeah. You had Dragunov, who's been ducking Ciampa.
Yeah.
You have Fraxium, who's been making fun of Ciampa.
Yeah.
After so you've had several situations. Even like Ray's confrontation with Dominic wasn't so, was a little bit like Lucha's more important than my family, kind of. So Dominic had a point. And on Saturday main event, Cody using the title, it seemed like he was excusing it, which is fine. But again, it's just a lot going on at once. So I wouldn't even be 100% sure about that. But yeah, it seems like that's the way that they're heading.
Darrell Freeman says Drew's leaving to go film the Highlander movie that he got a big role in. And I wasn't sure of the timing on that, and I don't know, they might not sneak in a Cody match. I'm not sure the exact date on that. That's why I said maybe he's going away for a while, because there's something like that going on. But Cody said, "I'm done with Drew." Sorry to interrupt, Javier, but Cody said he's done with Drew, but then Drew interferes and attacks him. So I think that sort of offsets Cody going, "I'm done with him." But it doesn't mean Cody immediately will challenge him, but I could see Cody immediately challenging him, beating Drew, and then that is a storyline explanation for Drew going away because he's just lost. He's frustrated. So I don't know if they can sneak that in, and I don't even necessarily want to know. I kind of want to see how this plays out. But the sequence of this show did open up that possibility, I'd say. So I'll throw that in there, especially with Darrell chiming in with the Highlander fact.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that he calls him back, or it could also be like what they did with Kevin Owens, where Kevin Owens was suspended for a while and he was just sending in videos. Mm-hmm. Something along those lines. So, so they could do that.
The match could happen after the hiatus.
Yeah. So
I'm sick of this guy's obnoxious videos, like you say, Javier.
Yeah, and then like maybe like he goes to his house like Kevin Owens did to Sammy. So stuff like that I could they could do to buy time for however long he's going to be out if the filming stuff started. I got to check on that because when it's coming, because I'm actually very interested in that movie. And yeah, so that's pretty much what the gut reaction. And honestly, if they're going to plan on stretching this out for a long time anyway, I'd be fine if they do kind of like vignettes in between and keep them apart for a bit, because it just feels it'll get monotonous after a while if you don't do something to switch it up. Because I guess Survivor Series is probably where you could pay it off. But yeah,
I like the idea. Well, I'll read a couple comments here in the chat, and then I'll add a thought here. Derek Mitchell says, "Wade, I agree with you. I suspect Cody will demand Aldis not suspend Drew and give him another match." Derek Hubbard, good to have you back. We missed you in recent weeks. Says, "I expect that Drew and Cody are going to go at it one more time, perhaps a stipulation match. I support a Drew title win, but I do not think it is going to happen." Drew could send in obnoxious videos, and Cody can go, "I just want to shut this guy up. Why do we keep airing this? Let me just wrestle him." But it could happen months down the line or weeks down the line. I mean, it could be something where, Cody's just finally like, he just won't shut up. He's on social media. You're playing these videos of him for some reason. And by then it won't feel It'll feel, I guess, fresher because there'll be some distance between them. But they could also do it quickly. Again, with the movie filming, I mean, Drew can fly in for a show and then fly out again. It's not like unless he has to do something with his
theoretically.
Theoretic. Yeah, I wonder where it's being filmed. Anyway, so options are open. I don't know, but I do like. Okay. Derek looked it up. He goes, Highlander production start in early 2026. So there's certainly time to get to this. We could even do videos and a match. Perhaps at Sunday night's main event, even if they want to load up the Cena show, and maybe sell those final tickets that each cost like $500,000 that they can't quite unload for the 12th row, whatever it is they're charging ridiculously for the Cena match. And Derek says the production was actually delayed due to the Henry Cavill injury. So,
that's why I wasn't sure it was starting, because I had heard there was a delay. I wasn't 100% sure, and I wanted to check up what it was.
Yeah. Pile Driver Pete says, where is it being filmed? In the Highlands. I don't know if he's being serious or not, but it's good. Yeah, it's being filmed. The reboot is being filmed in Scotland. Oh, that's super convenient. All right. Let's see. Adam Kidd says, I would book Drew to win it, but yeah, it wouldn't line up on the calendar right now. And Darrell wants to know, where do you sneak that match in? Because a big show Survivor Series, and would that be good for that after Drew lost his two big matches? I think Saturday night's main event. Just get a co-main event on there. They'll have a lot of eyeballs for Cena, so maybe give Cody a clean win over a big star like Drew, and then Drew can take time off, film a movie, and come back and be sort of fresher. Adam Kidd says, I'd like to see them have a Hell in a Cell. So if they delayed it and Drew was so obnoxious while he was gone sending in tape, then Cody could challenge him to a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, a lot of possibilities there. Derek Hubbard adds, if they had another strong babyface in the bullpen, Drew could be the heel champion going into Mania. Unfortunately, I do not think they have a face at that level on either show for Drew to face. So I want to ask you, Javier, the state of Drew McIntyre in your mind. We have tonight. We've been kind of focused on what happened tonight. Obviously, it's part of a storyline they've been telling. They opened the show showing footage of Drew swinging with a belt, missing when Cody ducked, and Cody DDTing him on a belt, on the title belt. The announcers made it seem like maybe Cody didn't know he was DDTing him on the belt. Cody owned it, said, I didn't hesitate. With other people, I do. With you, I don't, or I didn't. Hesitate to use an object or a weapon or snap. It feels like they paid enough lip service to Cody and Drew that they are going to do another match. I don't think Drew would run in on Cody, and now we're not going to have a third match, another match at some point. So it is just a matter of time. Is Drew in a good position on whatever timeline you want to entertain to be the guy who one-seats Cody? Should that even be between now and WrestleMania for this match? Is that something we should even consider? It's plausible, but is it something we should consider as a single digit, but not less than 1% possibility or more?
For him to beat him?
For Drew to win, yeah. For Drew to beat and Cody's reign.
If they do it, I think it'll end up being just a quick swap, just because if they're going to stretch it for a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming probably Randy Orton for WrestleMania for Cody. That's kind of, I think, the one that because they've already set the stage, hasn't been around. Don't know. I don't know if why, but it just hasn't been around. So when he comes back, it'll be a surprise. And we got to remember that this whole entire thing with Drew, because Drew seemed to be heading to a long-term feud with Jacob Fatu. So this seems to be more of a reshuffling the deck because due to Fatu being out. So which I thought that it for me personally, because I'm a huge Drew McIntyre fan. I'm so mm-hmm. As a fanboy perspective, it hurts because he's not going to win, and he's already had a lot of trouble, and it's just you're kind of stretching that, and he's kind of settled into what I call the Eddie Edwards role in TNA, that whenever TNA has a problem with their champion, they give him the title just because he's reliable. That kind of feels put McIntyre in the main event because he's reliable at that point. So instead of really getting behind him, so it kind of feels to me that they're with this, the way that they're doing Drew basically is saying, you're reliable, you're always going to be around, you might get it when there's an emergency, but we're going to really be focusing on other people. Thanks. That's kind of the gut reaction I got where he's at, because I've said that there's a better story to tell. Not that this is a bad story, this is more of a bog standard wrestling booking plan, 108, as opposed, where the heel is his own worst enemy storyline, as opposed to, an actual story where that could have been crafted based on the history of these two. This feels like it's more like, this is the Mad Lib that we're using this week.
Well put. I want to get some more chat comments in, responding to you as you were talking, Javier, and also kind of speculating on where Drew might go from here. I'm fascinated with Drew because he's that forever a bridesmaid. He looks like a top guy, cuts top guy promos, can have top guy main event epic matches, especially in the WWE modern style, which is, the Roman Reigns, Cody era. Heck, John Cena. I mean, they're just, you don't have to be super flashy, but you want to look like a kind of a superhero brought to life in a fight scene in the ring, and Drew can pull all that off, but there's always just somebody else who's a priority with above him. He's in a good spot. Can there be a great show? So we'll get into that, but let's pause and formally introduce ourselves in the show here, and then we'll get to that. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Friday, November 7th, 2025, and I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter and the website, PWTorch.com, featuring news, live TV, and pay-per-view and PLE coverage, opinion articles. I was choosing between commentaries, opinions, and all kinds of adjectives. Opinion articles on with a variety of formats and a variety of writers that you won't find anywhere else. And also flashbacks. We just put up a couple, 3 10 years ago SmackDown flashbacks right before SmackDown went on the air. Greg Parks' reports on them, in fact. Some interesting stuff going on. I always like looking back. It helps put in perspective time passing and what has happened since in the pace at which things are happening in WWE. It is fun to see like Dean Ambrose in these reports and what he was up to, and kind of think about and read about what we were writing at the time and what he was involved in. There was also Kevin Owens, the Wyatts. So yeah, just fun stuff. Ryback was active 10 years ago on SmackDown. You also had King Barrett active. Neville, who's now Pac, was active. Zeb Coulter in the mix. And then there was a Halloween themed show. Javier, do you remember Bo Dallas's Halloween name?
No, because I was not watching wrestling at that point.
It is a headline on PWTorch.com right now. Everyone check it out, but I will spoil it for you. Boo Dallas. It's added an O.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I got a chuckle. So check it out. We got flashbacks, cool stuff on our website. Definitely worth checking out every day. Create a tab or bookmark or whatever on your phone or desktop. Also, I host a variety of podcasts, including the Wade Keller post shows. We stream them live on the PWTorch YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, and then also distribute them on our podcast feed across all podcast apps. Anywhere you find a podcast, you'll find us. Just search Wade Keller. The red logo show is this, our post show format. The blue logo show will pop up too. That's the Wade Keller podcast as opposed to post show. That includes a weekly flagship, pay-per-view previews, interviews, media Q&As with Tony Khan, sometimes with Paul Levesque, flashbacks, and more. We even have some 15 years ago flashbacks that we put up that are, I think, fascinating to listen to. Some early flagship episodes with Jason Powell and me and other good stuff. So subscribe by searching Wade Keller. And while you're at it, search PWTorch, because that is how you subscribe to the PWTorch livecast feed. PWTorch Daily Cast feed, by the way, I should say. And there's a show on it called Acknowledging WWE with Javier, with a hat on the logo. Javier, there's some love for you in the chat with Standard Deviation saying it is must watch, or must listen, I should say. It is a must listen show on the lineup. Where's that comment? Let's put proof here. Yep, Standard Deviation says Javier's Acknowledging WWE is must hear weekly content. It is part of a lineup of daily shows, different theme every day of the week, AEW show and NXT show, the PWTorch 90s Past Cast with a look back at what I was writing about and the team was writing about at Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter 30 years ago this week. Fun stuff there and more. Javier, welcome to the co-host chair. Good to have you back here, and plug your show.
Yeah, I do acknowledge WWE with a couple of co-hosts, my brother Mike Myers and Kevin Duncan, and pretty much just talk about what's going on in WWE, and sometimes delve into some pop culture stuff too. Generally, like older stuff because I'm old, So, so we, just that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, search PWTorch. It's free. When you search PWTorch, you'll see a charcoal gray logo pop up. That's our PWTorch VIP free sample feed. So if you want to get a taste of some things we're doing on the VIP side of things that are not just offered to everybody for free, there's some samples up there. It's worth checking out. I think we put up the fixed mailbag last week, and I believe one of the Wade Keller news bulletins also that I've been starting. So full details on VIP membership if you want to just dive in and support us with a membership and get all of our free shows with commercial breaks edited out, and then a bunch of VIP exclusive shows. You can unlock that within the Apple Podcast app, by the way, by subscribing to the PWTorch VIP feed, the podcast. So you get free samples, but you can unlock all the VIP shows on that feed using your Apple account. It's one of the most seamless ways to get our VIP shows. You can also search PWTorch or Wade Keller through Spotify or Patreon and become a VIP member that way, or just get full information on a full VIP membership, unlocking all our archives at pwtorch.com/govip. That also includes our Apple Podcast compatible feed with customizable feeds. So you can divide it by, have multiple feeds on your Apple Podcast app or whatever podcast app you use, actually, for specific shows or clusters of shows, current stuff versus retro, all that. Full details on pwtorch.com/govip. We're here to talk SmackDown, and we have an email address if you want to join us, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com also works. We check both accounts. And you can also join us in the chat if you're watching us live. The email's good. If you're watching live, you can email us, of course. But if you don't watch us live and you listen on delay on the podcast feed, that's your way to be part of the show. So consider that an invite. But you can also join us in the chat live if you're watching us on YouTube. And then finally, you can be a caller, video or audio-only caller. The link to that is in my TV report at pwtorch.com. Hope you're checking out my written report with analysis of key segments and matches at PWTorch, the website. VIP members get the ad-free version of that website. All right, let's get to, back to, as I said, comments in the chat about what we were just talking about with Drew McIntyre. So, Derek Mitchell says, Nick Aldis should be frustrated with constant interference every show, not just Drew's interference. Yes. He also adds a fact. The last time Aleister Black and Cody Rhodes wrestled each other was October 23rd, 2021 at the AEW Dynamite Homecoming show. Boy, that's a fun topic. The way Aleister Black changed the course of professional wrestling history in that, or AEW fans did by siding with Aleister.
Those were thoughts the entire night from the moment that he came out. I'm like, is this the point where the people start booing Cody?
I know. I think Cody was fine, and I think Cody's in good enough position. I wasn't super worried about it. I think if they were worried, they probably would have not done it. But this could have been an experiment to see if things are different. But I didn't pick up on any kind of, Cody rejection in general with him lately. I think he's in a good spot, and I didn't pick up on it tonight. If the chat disagrees, let me know. Yeah, Javier?
Well, in the social media circles, there have been, grumblings of mainly more hitting Triple H, and I've been hearing super Cody. Mm-hmm. And I kind of get the frustration, because Cody for the last couple feuds has not been the main character of the feud, because with Seth Rollins, he wasn't the main character. With Seth Rollins, who was the main character. And this, and this kind of feels with Drew's also, because the majority of the story is on Drew, and his, how he can't control himself. So I kind of get that. And it's like, it almost kind of feels like Cody's, padding his stats. So I that's what I was thinking. But they were also in his home, kind of like a home crowd too. So where they were at. Mm-hmm. So so you also have that going for him. So, but yeah, the thoughts have been crossing my mind.
I'm not worried about fans turning on Cody, because there's pockets of people in social media who are. I'm sure there's a pocket of people in social media who think who are upset that Cody's hair is the wrong color, or his tights should be short and not long, or his boots don't look. I mean, I'm not dismissing social media, but there's always going to be, like, whoever's on top, there's going to be people saying, he's being overpushed, or I'm tired of him. It's totally fine. I mean, everyone should be able to express their opinion. That's what social media is for, primarily. If I'm WWE, I don't pay a lot of attention to that unless it feels way out of proportion or really good points are being made. But in that case, you can kind of steer the booking a little bit and learn from it. But I wouldn't overreact to it, I guess, is my point. Be cognizant of it. Don't overreact to it. And listen to the paying fans. And AEW didn't do that soon enough. Cody didn't do that soon enough, 4 years ago when things were going wrong. But I feel Cody's in a good spot. But I think, some of the things that you're pointing out that social media is saying are things to be aware of. I mean, people love Cody when it was about him and his journey. And when Cody comes out and it's like, doesn't have a lot to say, and he just has that sort of, I want Joe Tessitore and Cody to get toothpaste sponsorships because their smiles, just like the wide smiles that they both do that are kind of pasted on like they're posing for a photo shoot rather than on live TV. They can compete with each other in a smile off. I mean, there are things that Cody does that, ultimately, and Drew calls him, this corporate sellout champion, can ring a little true with people. So you got to be careful. But I still argue Cody is likable. He is a pro wrestling fan's wrestler. His dad's Dusty. He grew up in the business. He was a guy who was old school for the IC title belt, wanting to bring that back and bring prestige. He did take a journey on his own, proved himself, came back, fought amazingly against Seth Rollins with that injury, and then kind of has been sympathetic with The Rock kind of showing up and bigfooting some things. And so I still think the Cody story is WWE fan friendly in terms of the majority, the 80% of more mainstream and not the super ardent fans. I don't think you mess with it. I think you just don't overreact to any negativity. I still think there's more of a story to be told with him. All that said, Javier, there've been some hints of it, and I think they pulled back. Cody maybe getting frustrated or snapping, and I wasn't myself. I think that was just about Drew. But I proposed the possibility, wasn't alone. Like, is that hinting at maybe he's getting frustrated with the nice guys don't always finish last thing? And when he does lose a title, maybe that's a year from now or so. But if it's sooner, is that a hint that he'll sell out to the final boss, The Rock? Is that still floating out there? And do you interpret anything Cody said on TV or anywhere else as laying the groundwork for at least that as a possibility, a card that they want to be able to play later? Or would you say, no, that stuff was mostly about Drew setting him off, and we shouldn't read into it?
So that's kind of what I'm saying, where he hasn't been like the main character, because it doesn't seem like they've done much of that recently. Just like hints and maybe hints in there. So it's hard when it feels like his character's just like spinning his wheels to really know which direction it's going to end up taking. Because they did hit hard the fact that he couldn't pull the trigger, and he mentioned it again today. That the reason that he pulled the trigger was for this reason. I think this is more to give him a little bit more of an edge, at least at first, which you could then play off in something else. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the where maybe if you're telling a long period where it becomes harder and harder for him to defeat his opponents, he starts taking more and more shortcuts and explaining it away. That could be a slight, direction they go. But this is like far down the road, and who the heck knows? The only thing I want to say, the only reason that I would have any concern, it's not so much for like you have to change the babyface character, the character that Cody is. It's start booking him with more where he's more of the focal point. Because what I'm hearing is not so much like, oh, we don't like Cody. It's more like we don't like the way that his stories right now are boring. And that's more of the issue. It's not like an issue that we have an issue with him being as a champion. It's because a lot of the criticism is actually to Triple H, saying that he's got a champion that's not really doing anything and not moving along a story. So that's the only reason I would say focus more on Cody and not necessarily his opponent for a bit.
Yep, I'll put. Looks like the chat has some comments on this. Some
stagnant. That's kind of what Cody's feeling to me right now, is stagnant.
Yep. Okay, we'll get back to Drew in a second, because I do want to throw in, because we just talked about Cody, some Cody chat comments here. So I'm just kind of observing them. Yeah. So Adam Kidd says Cody was over tonight. Pile Driver Pete says, I have not soured on Cody yet. And Standard Deviation said, Cody isn't at risk, in my opinion. It feels different to how it felt before fans turned on him in AEW. Derek Mitchell says, I think Cody is a likable and marketable star, and he's in a good space, but you can never rest on your laurels. Adam Kidd says, yeah, the live audience for AEW is much different than WWE, that's for sure. And then Derek Hubbard says, I attended Saturday's main event last Saturday. Based on reaction and merchandise, Cody was the most beloved wrestler on the show. And Goodfella said, I like Cody. I love Cody's work still. Kids love him, but LA Knight carrying the big belt for 6 months in the offseason would be more fun, in my opinion. Derek Mitchell says Cody doesn't need a long title reign. Stone Cold lost the title twice in '98 before winning it back at WrestleMania 15, so Cody can afford to take some time chasing it. And finally, Standard Deviation says, I view the Cody teases as a similar tactic to the way Miz drew attention to LA Knight's flaws. By directly addressing the elephant in the room, it can help to ease fan restlessness. So any reaction to any of that, Javier?
No, that's pretty much.
Yeah, those are good comments from the chat. Appreciate that. Okay, so back to Drew and some comments on him. Pile Driver Pete suggests Cody versus Drew, or Drew and the ref inside Hell in a Cell, not with Cody. Just let Drew beat up a referee in a hell. Actually, if you had a wrestler like Drew just getting to beat up a referee in a Hell in a Cell, that could actually draw. It would make no sense to book it, but storyline wise, I mean, but it'd be fun. All right. Derek Hubbard says, I would be all in for Drew and Roman at Mania. Do others think it's a big enough match or feud for Roman at Mania? Javier?
You got to build it. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's again, that's one that also has plenty of story, but now I think not only you have to build him, I think you also have to do some work on rebuilding Drew too, because he's kind of been like I said, he's kind of been put on a level, the level I see him at. I think to really get that explosive level of match, you do have to do some work, but the two of them have a body of work that stands that they could have a really good WrestleMania. Yeah. It would need a story. And Drew would need to be rehabbed a little bit, but I'm all for those two wrestling again in a big situation. All right, Goodfella says Cody versus Drew getting to be Hell in a Cell worthy ? Goodfella says Drew wearing white mean anything? Yeah, it means he thinks he's the good guy in this, probably, if anything. Derek Mitchell says, honestly, it would have been great to see Drew beat Punk for the world title, but seems like it'll be on Braun Breaker who does that. Derek says, Jacob and Drew at Mania. I like it. With the belt on the line, I like it even more. Yeah. All right. And Darrell says, with them getting ready for WrestleMania, I don't think they need to switch too many titles. And they need to start building to fill both nights' main events that feel like main events, because they don't have one now. So anyway, yep. All right, I'm at peace with our Drew Cody stuff, and also we got in Aleister Black in that discussion. So let's move on to another topic. We had a U.S. Title Open Challenge, something I'm looking forward to every week right now. But you brought it up, Dragunov going, Ciampa, you want a match? Yeah, I'll defend my title, but not against the person actually challenging me now. We'll do it against somebody who also expressed interest. The guy behind you, your partner, Johnny Gargano. I get that Ciampa's annoying enough, complaining about being called a jackass and being such a whiner that maybe fans delight in seeing him being frustrated. But it did seem like Dragunov, as a babyface, was avoiding, ducking the more direct challenge and taking a match against somebody who wasn't prepared mentally or physically to wrestle as much as Ciampa was. Ciampa was ready to go. You got to be careful. You can be a little too cute with this. And then the way that, Frazier and Axiom were mocking Ciampa, you can say Ciampa might be coming across a little bit more as a sympathetic figure here. What do you think, Javier? Yeah, I mean, if Ciampa just goes nuts and, starts beating the hell out of everybody, I don't blame him. He's got a reason to. He's got a point. But yeah, I mean, and because I asked myself, okay, so why is Dragunov playing this game? Mm-hmm. And okay, is it Ciampa's a jerk, but has he been that much of a jerk lately to Dragunov? Do they have like a blood feud going on? So yeah, it's cute that he's doing it and he's frustrating him, and we're supposed to feel like what we're supposed to feel is like is laughing at mocking Ciampa because he's not getting what he wants. But then I'm like, what's in it for Dragunov other than to play mind games? And usually playing mind games is a heel tactic. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get it. It's for the jokes. I get it. It's for the lulls. I get it's to for the crowd to have I forgot the psychological term, but to get some Schadenfreude with Ciampa, and then you double it up with Fraxium doing it. I get what they're doing, but that kind of it's a little bit counterproductive, I think, in terms of it makes Dragunov a little bit more of a sleazeball. Yep. I'll caveat this. It is possible that he could be heel at some point, fairly in soon. So that would be my caveat there with Dragunov.
Well, they want to make the Dragunov match against Ciampa feel like a bigger deal than the others. And I get that. The way they're doing it, they got to be careful. Derek says in the chat, I think Dragunov is being a little too cute by choosing Gargano, but eventually it will build to the one-on-one Ciampa match. So, I mean, the spirit of let's make this feel like a bigger deal by the time it happens, I'm all for that. Ciampa's trying to be so obnoxious, nobody's sympathetic to him, even if Dragunov looks like he's ducking him and all that. But in total, yeah, I can kind of feel like he's getting, you get sympathy on him for maybe the face is picking on him a little too much. Not a huge deal, but Derek, let me throw in this counterpoint from Derek. No, 3D Hop here. Derek Hubbard says, I did not perceive it as Ilya ducking Ciampa. I saw it as Ilya not rewarding Ciampa for his post-match attack on Frazier last week.
Yeah, but he also didn't really. Yeah, I kind of get that, but not necessarily because I don't like the word ducking, but like I said, I know he's messing with him, but why wouldn't the babyface who want to get revenge because he attacked Frazier last week? So it's not like rewarding him, but I'm going to beat you up, So that's why it's more of a that's the thing. I get it, but he's playing more of a. Instead of a direct baby face, more like I'm going to mock him a little bit, kind of more like a Rock kind of thing. That's like what the Rock did, which is fine for specific baby faces. But Dragunov doesn't seem like that character to me because his whole thing is, his catchphrase now is what pain entertains, something along those lines. Yeah. So that's more of a direct kind of thing. So this, again, it kind of doesn't really jive with me in the character. And the other thing I don't like is, you want to make it feel like Ciampa's, better, but I wouldn't do that thing of try to get the crowd to chant jackass at him because it feels like you're putting him kind of in the Miz role because that's like what you use Miz for. You come up with like a thing that, then he sells it and stuff like that. But if you want to build it up as a big match, as opposed to just a babyface beating an annoying heel, I think you would have been better off with Ciampa and him having a big match. I wasn't a big fan of that because to me it dropped it from like, oh, I really want to see this match because granted I remember them from their NXT days, and hey, maybe they could get a pretty decent match in WWE. It feels now with the whole jackass thing, kind of feels like instead of like Ciampa, the Black Heart, it feels more like Miz understudy.
Yeah. Pile Driver Pete says, we just talked about fighting spirit last week. This was the opposite of that. What'd you think of the Gargano Dragunov match as part of the U.S. title open challenge?
Yeah, it was good. It keeps reminding me that I miss NXT. The lengths that they went. So, but yeah, overall, I thought. And the other thing is, I also didn't get super invested because I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of obvious that Gargano's not going to win. This is not a who's going to because that's kind of my problem with the matches in on the TV shows is that either A, who's going to win, or B, it's not going to have an ending, or it's going to end up with a screwy finish. Yep. So because you don't have and that was the case with this one. It's like with Gargano facing, I'm like, well, Gargano's not their he's not their focus, so he's just going to drop them. That's that's kind of why it's kind of hard to get into it because you're not going to see Gargano like give his best. That's kind of what's disappointing. But outside of all that, by complaining, it was good for the way that they do it. I'm complaining about how they book these matches and how they do it. The stuff they did in the match was fun.
Philosophical question: should every Dragunov U.S. title open challenge match, or is it helpful and important for most of them to have some sort of storyline around them? It's part of an angle. It's part of a story. Or is it okay to just go, you know what? We are going to, on SmackDown, early or middle of the show, sometimes later in the show, whatever. Doesn't have to be the main event, doesn't have to be the opener, but we're going to just give you a really good 15-plus minute Dragunov match. And that's a reason to tune in. We're going to plant a flag here and go, AEW, we're the best wrestle. Try to beat what Dragunov's doing every week on SmackDown for 15 minutes. I'm like okay with doing that sometimes. No, it's easy for me to say. Maybe they're looking at the numbers like, well, yeah, it's good for the brand and be known as having good wrestling because sometimes, like Saturday's main event wasn't super contemporary youthful action. I mean, there's 7 male wrestlers, and except for Dom, they were all 39 to 47 years old. And it showed with Jay and Punk, and it showed with Cody and Drew. It's just not young guys doing things that Dragunov is able to do right now. So there is something about there being value in adding that, and then it can sort of be a selling point to just, I want to go to a show to see Dragunov in person. Promote him like he is this great generational in-ring worker. That's my case for it. I'm not against some storyline, but it's to what you said. Why can't Gargano against Dragunov be this former NXT champ, this indie sensation, Johnny Gargano? Now he's in the tag division, but he wants to prove he can still go with the best. And pull from their history, pull from NXT, pull from the indie scene, pull from similar perceptions of them at different times in their career because they're at different stages, and sell that. Like, I just don't want WWE to always give up on selling the notion of an athletic contest for a title that is going to be two great athletes going at it. I just every once in a little more often than they do, I want that to be enough and not have to add a bunch of other stuff around it.
Yeah, and it would help Dragunov because Dragunov is a really good wrestler. He's had some of my favorite matches between him, Tyler Bate, and Gunther. Alongside with Ciampa and Gargano. Those are some of my favorite matches of recent times for WWE, for the WWE wrestlers mainly. But the thing is that the crowd doesn't know who Dragunov is. The wider crowd doesn't know who Dragunov is. He kind of came up for a bit, had some cool. You could tell he was pushed to a high level when he first came in. Mm-hmm. And people were into his gimmick. Got injured unfortunately really soon after that. Yep. But let him use the open challenge to have some bangers, as they like to say, mm-hmm. with strong wrestlers. Shinsuke, he could do good stuff with Shinsuke, Sami Zayn, he did that, and just have a murderer's row, because when people this guy knows how to wrestle, he's giving us our favorite, our cool matches, then you can start working heavier into the story. You can still kind of have a story wave in and out of that, but put up, that's going to be your 15-minute cool match. And Triple H does that. The last time that I really felt that was when it was Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, where they had a series of matches, and you could tell that those matches were they were going out there putting on, going 100 miles an hour, as opposed to what you normally get at these TV show events.
Yep. Some chat comments on this popping up here. Derek just goes, Triple H loves his NXT black and gold, just like you, Javier. Derek Hubbard says, I'm happy to see Ciampa getting something to do as a single. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of the past 10 years. Not a bad pick there. Derek says, I agree with you, Wade. I'm more into storylines and character development myself, but I wouldn't mind seeing Dragunov being in a great 15 to 20-minute wrestling match. Goodfellas says, Gargano and Ciampa, it's time to split again. Let them get their singles footing. Derek Hubbard says, so far, I like the U.S. title open challenge layout. Gargano was spur of the moment. The Ciampa feud and matches next up. Tama Tonga is on the horizon. Multiple levels of build around the title. Yep. Darrell says, I just wish they'd let a few weeks of Dragunov matches just be matches, where he's just having good matches, and then frame the story around the matches that he's putting on and let this be his story. That's what I'm getting at. Just let's have a few Dragunov matches. Be great matches for the sake of the competitiveness of the U.S. title, people stepping up. And in a way, that's, what Frazier is. I mean, it's just more of that. Not everything's got to be you don't mess with it. If everything went really well today with Dragunov, maybe this wouldn't be an issue. But part of me is you don't need Dragunov cutting a snarky promo and trying to outsmart the heel by, trying to frustrate a heel and turn it into just have a great match and let that be the story. Pile Driver Pizza's cream rises to the top. Danielson got over by putting on bangers. So anyway, yeah, good array of opinion there. Anything else you want to add on any of this, Javier?
And for that last, Danielson also got over because he wasn't Cena at the time.
because he wasn't what?
He wasn't John Cena at the time.
Yes. Oh, seriously, context is so important for so much in pro wrestling.
In general, those kinds of wrestlers, the ones that you could say that don't really have that outsized personality, mm-hmm. they get over by putting great Bret Hart. Why do we love Bret Hart? We don't love Bret Hart for his promos.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not killing him on the promos, but he doesn't have like a Rock or Stone Cold level promo ability. So
Yep.
you love him because of the mat wrestling that he did.
Yep. I mean, Chris Benoit too. I mean,
yeah,
that was him. Derek Mitchell says, I've said it before, but he reminds me of Tommy the Dynamite Kid Billington. Speaking of Ilya Dragunov and Standard Deviation, says, yeah, that's a great observation. Do you agree with that, Javier? Is there someone else Dragunov reminds you of?
Well, I mean, I'm not that familiar with Dynamite Kid, but I am familiar with the people who have previously been compared to Dynamite Kid, and I would say yes, like the Benoits and that kind of like more.
You are assigned a deep dive on Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple, but and I know I actually want to, because didn't he do a bunch of stuff with Tiger Mask?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
So yeah, that's one of the ones, because I actually downloaded a bunch of matches that was all the 5-star matches that Meltzer did. So I actually have them. I just never got around to watching them.
The tape, pre-internet, the tape trading world, it was all about that era of the junior heavyweights in Japan and what they were doing and innovating the style. It was eye-opening for me. Raised on the AWA, which was kind of a lumbering big man territory. I swear by it. I love it. It's in my DNA as a fan, and what I think can work in wrestling, but it wasn't super athletic. It wasn't prime flashy athletes, but it was some really good stuff. There were a promo territory and a character territory. But then suddenly, the Dynamite.
Those matches are on this hard drive.
Sweet. All right, you don't have to dig very deep then to watch these. Yeah, it's amazing and ahead of its time. And so there's all the buzz about that. And then when Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy showed up as the British Bulldogs in the WWF in the mid '80s for the early Saturday Night's main events, for me that was eye opening. Like, I didn't know wrestling could be that amazing athletically, and getting to see the British Bulldogs against Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, the Hart Foundation, in person, it was just, whoa, okay, this is special too. I mean, it's just, I already love pro wrestling because of the promos and the characters and the feuds and the brawling and what the AWA was able to bring, but Dynamite Kid was like, okay, there's this whole other category of what wrestling can be. And then I was just an advocate for a long time of junior heavyweights, light heavyweights. I coined the term cruiserweight. I suggested it should be the term to get rid of the stigma of junior and light heavyweight. And then Mark Madden wrote a column on it, and then it got called that. He took credit for it, never credited me. Shame on you, Mark. But it's editorial in the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter back issue on the back page that wrestling should push these super athletes and let's get rid of the junior and light heavyweight titles, which have stigmas, and call them cruiserweights, because that is a fresh start. So that is my evidence that I've been in favor of the Dragunov style for a very long time, especially now in the context. We talk about context of why Danielson was popular, because he wasn't Cena, he wasn't Batista, he wasn't whoever people perceived were being overpushed. Dragunov is a counter to Cody. He's a counter to Punk. He's a counter to Jay. He's a counter to Drew. I'm fans of all four of them. I'll advocate for their strengths, but their strengths were not shining Saturday night's main event because it was too monotone. The whole show, like, you needed a dose of athleticism on that show. It was just like, 4 baked potatoes on the plate, or 3 steaks on the plate. It's like, no, we need some other things on there. So anyway, big fan of mixing it up. And Derek Mitchell says, Wade, I'm a huge AWA fan. I don't think a generation of fans understands the impact and importance they infused in wrestling. Yeah, I mean, mid 60s to mid 80s, one of the big three. In the early 80s, they're Pro Wrestling national magazines. There was the NWA, the WWF, and the AWA. Those were the big three world champions. AWA's on ESPN for a while. In fact, Goodfellas says, AWA on Tuesdays on ESPN was must-see TV. And that is even post-peak. Like, the peak AWA was 70s and into the early 80s. Vintage prime Bobby Heenan. Look up AWA Bobby Heenan stuff with Nick Bockwinkel. Crusher Jerry Blackwell in his peak years, not the mid-80s when he was just really slowed down, but as a peak heel, taking great bumps for a guy at his weight. Anyway, I could go on and on. Love the AWA, and it's worth a deep dive. But don't watch the stuff on ESPN and like that late era stuff. Like, you kind of want to be 84, 83 and earlier. The Road Warriors and Stan Hansen were kind of the end of it being relevant. Anything before that, Bobby Heenan, before the WWF signed away so much of their talent. It's just great stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of it didn't survive, but there's some good stuff out there. All right, enough pitching that. Standard Deviation says, whenever I go back and watch classic matches, it reminds me how converged modern wrestling styles have become. All right. Jade Cargill cut a very brief heel promo. It's probably better off that way. Sometimes the less said, the better. And I was like, I hope like they don't just stifle any chance for her to grow on the microphone, but I actually thought she was good backstage. Chelsea Green is a heel, Jade's a heel, but people are going to side with Chelsea because, you know, she's an entertaining heel. So I was thinking, is this a bad idea when Jade turns heel to put her in a situation where now fans are having to kind of like go, well, Chelsea's annoying, so I'm going to side with Jade here. But no, I think they'd side with Chelsea. But then they just went right to Jade just being an arrogant, full of herself character that I think she's good at. She did some of that and portrayed that in AEW, just in terms of the attitude that she had, and the line "I'm that bitch" is now here. That got brought back. Make no mistakes about it. I'm that bitch, she said, throwing down the mic. So what'd you think of her in-ring presentation? When I say promo, there wasn't a lot to it, but the presentation and the choices they made there, and then how she's acting backstage. Is she found a lane that fits her?
Yeah, I mean, this is I almost think that they could have gone to this way earlier, because I'm not one of the people who said you bring her in as a heel, because people are going to cheer her anyway because she's coming on from the other company, and in a lot of cases when you get somebody that people know, they're going to be cheered, and write it for a bit, but have in mind her specifically. Her best place is the heel, and yeah, I mean, she just came out there, gave her statement. Which, if any of you have been a fan of hers, you're like, oh yeah, she's back to that kind of character. And then she showed up. The thing with her and Chelsea Green, I think it's just like they wanted to get another haha in, another joke. Mm-hmm. She's right behind me, isn't she? It was the joke this time. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to basically lead to anything, but it was mainly to get because I was when she turned heel, I'm like, okay, man, who's she going to face? I'm like, the only ones not involved in with tag team stuff was BFAB and Michin. So does that mean that they're going to be her first two opponents? Yeesh. And yeah, I mean, it looks like it is. I mean,
they won't be long.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Okay. At least the match with BFAB is probably going to just beat her in like 2 seconds and then move on.
They eventually need Jade to be able to do longer matches. I mean, they haven't trusted her and Tiffany even to do longer matches. And, Tiffany's not like, she's still green too, but she's a really good athlete. And their matches have been by design short. Pile Driver Pete in the chat says, I like what they did with Jade. Keep it short and sweet. But she's going to have a match with Charlotte. I mean, they just teased that. That is a epic big star match. They cross paths. Jade turning heel seems like it is in part because they think it's a good fit for her, but it also does set them up for a potential, I'd say even likely WrestleMania match against Charlotte as a rehabilitated babyface thanks to the dynamic with Alexa. What do you think of that? And should Charlotte be in the position of solidifying Jade through, like, not necessarily losing to her, but like, is the main goal using Charlotte to help build up Jade because Jade has more years ahead of her? Or is it, no, use Jade to help give Charlotte a spark because Charlotte still has a lot going, and this Alexa dynamic seems to have rejuvenated her. Who would be your priority, I guess, is my question, Javier. Who do you think their priority is, and who would yours be?
I think we need to see what Jade does between now and WrestleMania, and I think that's a game day call.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, it's a game day. Because if she does a good job as a heel and people really start feeding her, and, you got some time to do that, if she starts taking out, I mean, if they use Alexa Bliss as the kick the dog moment, which is when just the person everybody loves gets killed because Jade's so much bigger and stronger than her. That also then in comes Flair to get revenge. That's, I think, a really good story you could tell on those lines. And at that point, I think people would want to see Flair beat Jade. At that point, then if Jade has lifted her end of the bargain, then I 100% go with Jade. She's the younger person. If she's gotten over to that extent, if she hasn't, then and you're like we've been saying with her, it's like it's time to fish or cut bait. And if she doesn't pull it apart, like if she has, I mean, I like Tiffany, but the stuff that she did wasn't really like engaging to me. But if she has something like on the same level, I say go with Flair at that point.
Yeah, well put. I mean, that might be where they are, by the way. Game, we need to see more till we know how to handle this, and they'll evaluate it as it goes. Some chat comments here on this topic. Durrell says, what Jade did backstage made that short and quick in-ring promo better because she made herself look badass. Yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers who would benefit from going to the ring and keeping it short instead of trying to fill a lot of time without a lot to say. And it works for a character. Pile Driver Pizza, start with BFAB and let her tear through the entire roster. I don't know if the entire roster. Goodfella says, Jade should get the first win over Charlotte. Kind of establish that she isn't just being used to be fed to Charlotte to build her up, because that could backfire on Charlotte too, in kind of a meta fan perception sense, super Charlotte. Derek Hubbard says, I understand the mentality. Give Jade the entrance, let fans see her with the belt, and portray herself as a confident alpha. The encounter with Charlotte was intriguing, but booking the match is risky. I'm curious what Derek thinks is risky about it. I mean, I have ideas. I can think of a few things. Do you see any risk in that? It could be in terms of match quality. It could be in terms of injury. It could be in terms of it backfiring from a storyline or character standpoint.
I mean, if you were to book it for like this weekend or the next pay-per-view, then yeah. But I think you tell a story where Jade really gets underneath Charlotte's skin first. So I think you could get to it. You've got plenty of time between now and WrestleMania if it plays off in WrestleMania. Yeah. I think if you do, the big risk is if she comes in and if Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble, you don't want. Okay, have their encounter maybe come in through Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I get that. Derek Mitchell says Jade established herself as the alpha female. It'd be great to see her and Charlotte face off after their initial meeting when Jade signed with WWE, as Charlotte could help elevate Jade's skills. Then Derek says, BFAB and Meechin asking a rhetorical question. What is her problem? Which is obvious. Jade is flexing her prowess on SmackDown and looking to show dominance on the blue brand. Then Goodfella says, Charlotte's solo in-ring has not clicked for me unless it's a stipulation match. And Brian B says, copycat of her TBS title booking. She might as well have they might as well have had Jade tell Kathy to cut the shit. Then Derek Hubbard says, yeah, it doesn't have the same ring to it when it doesn't feel like you're getting away with something naughty. Match quality. It's like when Hogan during the Nitro era, go, I'm going to kick your butt. It's like, oh God. All right. Whatever. Match quality, says Derek Hubbard. Charlotte is not a giving wrestler. Moreover, her ability to carry an opponent is overrated by the leadership team. Standard Deviation says they've basically given up on Jade, at least the way they initially envisioned using her, and they decided to use her like she was used in AEW as a last resort. Darrell says they messed up years ago when they fed Asuka and her streak to Charlotte, who didn't need it at all because she was Charlotte, and that was used against her. She needs to give to Jade. So anyway, there we are with some additional comments. All right, so elsewhere on SmackDown, we had speaking of Charlotte, we had Nia Jax with Lash Legend showing up, and now Nia and Lash aligned. Looks like they might be the next. I was kind of wondering where Jade is going to, or Nia Jax is going to go. It just, she kind of has been hovering a little bit as a utility wrestler in this division, and she's just had such a good stretch of time compared to her previous runs. You knew they'd probably want to get something more out of her unless she just was going to ask for time off or retire or something. And so now with Lash Legend, it's a new dynamic. They can go after the tag titles. What do you think? What do you think of the impression Lash made on the national audience here? Been a long time since you've been on SmackDown, not really a regular.
Well, I think putting her with it makes them immediately a threat to powerhouse. Excuse me, to powerhouse women. To just that are going to be a scary out. And I like the idea that when you're going to go all in on Jade and Charlotte, I like the idea of them winning it over the Kabuki Warriors, to be honest, because we've kind of been there, done that with some permutation of the Yoshi wrestlers. I'd like the idea of the Lash Legend to really put her on the map if you're gonna, because I looking at the roster, I'm like, you kind of need more. I know they've been trying, but you kind of need to get some more women like on that higher level. So this, I think, pairing up with Nia, who always seems to find herself at that level, and give them a dominant tag team run and have them be two unstoppable forces that requires a lot to take them down. I think that could be a good way to get help get Lash Legend over, and also whatever baby face team that she goes up against. All that with the caveat that half the time they forget that they have a women's tag team division. So,
Well, they haven't been forgetting lately because it's
Not
Charlotte
lately,
and
yeah.
Alexa. And so obviously they're giving, more attention and time. But yeah, I mean, who knows if it ends up moving. I think they would prioritize Lash and Nia too. I mean, in a sense, it's a bit of an endorsement to the women's tag titles that they're thinking for somebody like Lash Legend. That's a good way to introduce her into the mix right now. Yeah. How big of a priority should protecting Nia Jax be? Like in continuing to utilize her well? Do you think they got what they can out of her and now it's like, just use her to put other people over? Or is there still something there in this is that you would, based on her performance and her promos and who she's beaten and who she's wrestled, do you keep looking for ways to kind of keep her in a fresh situation?
Yeah, I mean, at some points you might want to like take her off TV for a bit so people can, rest from her. But she's a very, just because of the force that she is in the ring, when used well, she actually does a good job. It's kind of like the not around anymore, but like how they started using Strowman there at the end, where he was like the big guy for other people to test themselves against, a gatekeeper, kind of like a gatekeeper kind of role. So yeah, I mean, keep her around for a gatekeeper. That means that you can't kill her, and occasionally feed her some other people. But yeah, I think that's a perfect role for her is a gatekeeper kind of role.
Yeah, there's some agreement in the chat on this. Standard Deviation says, until someone's ready to replace her, they might as well keep her as a viable world champion option. Standard Deviation also says Nia is still the only talent capable of filling her role. Goodfella says Nia has had a great year, in my opinion. Durrell says tonight they kind of built the beginning to a nice women's tag division with Jackson Legend together, added to everyone else. Derek Mitchell says it's interesting seeing Charlotte and Alexa together, Bayley and Lyra, Nia and Lash. They're paired together. It's a good way to use a veteran with a younger talent. Minus Alexa Bliss, although even that kind of has a bit of a vibe like that. Goodfella says Lash and Nia's last interaction was in a match in NXT, but now they're cool. I like the pairing, but they need to explain that. They actually did, and I like that they did that. Nia says she showed me she's badass. Last time we went to war, she showed me she's badass. I like the idea, even of heels, like earning respect for one another in a match.
It was the same way that they teamed up Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins after Bronson Reed needed to kill Seth Rollins. There
you go. Yep. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to go to every once in a while, which is we fight it out and then we have respect for each other. Who else was I thinking they might do that with recently? They fight it out and then they have with respect for each other. I can't remember. Chat, help me out if you remember me commenting on that.
I mean, there was just Cesaro and Sheamus. That was a while ago.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking that. It's something definitely more current. I don't even know if it's AEW or WWE. But anyway, Derek says Nia and Lash could be a formidable team opposite of Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae. Okay, feels a little bit random to me, but speaking
of Tiffany, anything about is Tiffany injured? Because that was a 5-minute match on Saturday and kind of wasn't on today.
They were Yeah, I think there's something nagging, and they were telling that story during the match, and it came across a little bit like they're protecting her, but yeah, she's got something going on too. And they really just it was all about Jade, like it wasn't about Tiffany. It's interesting. You lose, and I mean it's strategic. It's not. I don't think it's malicious in any way. Mike Myers jumps in and goes, "Heck in a Cell needs to be an annual calendar event." I think that goes back to where I'm going to kick your butt, and I'm not going to take, cut the crap. Thanks, Mike. Always good to know you're lurking, waiting to pick your spot there. Very well done. Okay, we had an announcement for more of the John Cena tournament matches. And one of them is LA Knight against a mystery opponent. Nick Aldis drew the name and looked at it and reacted like it was too big of a deal to mention. He took some joy in the thought of not revealing it yet. The other match was Miz and Jey Uso, which we'll talk about, because Miz cut up interesting promo making his case. He almost swayed me to think he should be in the conversation as an option, which is the goal of this. Even if that's not the plan, give it your best, and he did. But let's focus first on LA Knight against a mystery opponent. So LA Knight is the opponent of the mystery wrestler. That might clue us in or help us a little bit. It feels like it's a non-Raw SmackDown wrestler if Aldis is reacting that way to it. They also might not know yet. They're trying to work out a hasty deal to get Edge or Chris Jericho or something like that in as a special big surprise. What do you make of that, Javier? I mean, obviously a mystery's good. It gives people a week to speculate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the three I want to see on here.
Yeah.
Austin Theory, Joe Hendry, and RVD.
Yep. I thought of Joe Hendry and RVD. Austin Theory is interesting as a heel. If he beat LA Knight to advance, there's a history with Theory and Cena, by the way. And they could play on. I hadn't even thought about that. Like, you'd think I would have thought about that, because there's been some talk of Austin Theory being floated as a potential addition to the Heyman group, the Vision, and
before Seth's injury, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, you wonder. Yeah, you wonder if they're like, well, let's give Theory this a moment, and I mean, he can lose to Cena, but you're still giving him a moment, and then I don't know, does Heyman swoop in and go, hey, you got potential, but I can help you. You know, like, basically be the guy who says, I'll save your career. Or Austin Theory shows a lot against Cena. I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to play out some scenarios here. It'd be out of nowhere. Would Nick Aldis' response to seeing Austin Theory's name, would that match, like, if it were Theory, compared to, say, Rob Van Dam and Joe Hendry, which to me, Aldis' reaction felt like he saw Joe Hendry or Rob Van Dam's name more so than Austin Theory.
Yeah, I wasn't saying Austin Theory for this spot, but I'd like to see him in the tournament.
Okay, fair enough. Yep.
But for this spot, it definitely feels like it's one of those two, because RVD makes sense because they had that match in the One Night Stand. Was that the name of the pay-per-view? That was like just one of my favorite matches when with everybody throwing back Cena's shirt. I love that match. And that crowd wanted to murder Cena. Love that. And that would be a nice ending to that. Plus, I know that RVD's already been talking about retiring soon. So kind of them both going out. That would be neat. And Joe Hendry has for a while now been saying that he wanted to wrestle John Cena at some point. So. And WWE seems to be, really high on Joe Hendry. I really like it. I know I really like him, so I kind of pulling for him for that reason. And the Theory one I like, which is why I don't like it for this particular spot, because I'd actually, since if you're not going to pair up with the Vision side of things, and consider the fact that basically have Grayson Waller as the match. Because they already have that issue where Grayson Waller, has been talking smack, and have him just beat Grayson Waller and have him actually come out of that as a babyface, give Cena, and if Cena's up for it, actually have a good match with Cena, and then they shake hands at the end, and you kind of and then Theory could be, comes out of as a babyface. It's risky. I admit it's risky. But I think it's a high risk, high reward kind of situation. And I kind of if their goal is to get him over, and if the rumors are true that they wanted to pair him up with the Vision, that sounds to me, and the Vision's supposed to be future WrestleMania stars. I think that if you really think that that's true, I think that's a good way to go and get Theory over, beating him, but fair this time, because he has already a win against Cena, but that was full blown cheating. This would be the that was how that ended, right?
I was just trying to remember the details on it, and I don't. I remember the promo more.
Yeah. So and then if they do the actual this time they do it, he does it legit. I think that would help elevate him.
Yeah.
Again, it's risky. I'm not denying it's risky, but it would go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too far down. Like,
yeah.
Well, no, I enjoy it.
Okay.
The Austin Theory discussion, is good. Cena. Theory beats Cena to retain the U.S. title on at WrestleMania 39 Night 1. So that's I'm trying to remember more details of it. Was it a low? It was a low blow. But that was about it. Yeah, the ref was down. It was a low blow. So yeah, it was just a cheat to win, but it's still like, I don't know. I mean, it was heels win that way all the time. It's not like it takes everything away from it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to juggle a few things I want to say about this because I'll just say this and get off my mind. We've talked about John Cena not giving back, not creating a new star. And if he goes out just beating Dom, or he goes out losing to Gunther's already made. If there's something Cena can do, or he beats The Miz, okay, that's nostalgia, but it's just sort of like, doesn't leave anybody any better off. It's just a throwaway match on TV. Joe Hendry is in the tournament. He's not going to beat Cena's opponent. Rob Van Dam would be fun, going back to ECW, one night stand. I think people would love it. I'm not against that. If RVD was in shape and ready to go, I don't know that he is. So Theory would, if they told the right story, like you said, risky, because there's, people who are high in Theory and people who are not. But that would be a way for Cena to go, I'm going to do my best to help make a new star, and I like the storyline, and it would wipe away some of the criticism that I've had of him, and I think justified that this was more about a John Cena nostalgia tour, but he wasn't really using his equity to help leave WWE in a better place afterwards. Pile Driver Pete says, I'm getting persuaded to see an Austin Theory reboot, and Goodfellas says, I really like Theory, but I don't think this is the story for his comeback. So interesting take there. Anything more on that, Javier?
That's pretty much.
Yeah. What about Dragunov versus Cena? Says Goodfella. U.S. title open challenge opponent, legends, I guess. Pile to Repeat says, I'd be fine if it's Gunther. I could justify it.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. What do you think of Miz and Jey Uso as a match, and Miz's promo going on main event against Cena? I deserve this match. I shouldn't have to be in some open tournament. I have the credentials where I should just be, gifted this match. Well, given this match based on merit. It's always fun watching Miz try to do a serious promo because you just kind of want to squeeze his cheek and go, good try, Miz. You're almost serious there. You're almost believable as a serious person. But I think he tried, and I think to a certain degree he succeeded for him. What'd you think?
Yeah, and I could almost believe that he slighted that in real life. He slighted that he's, consider the fact that he has history with Cena, that he was not one of the people in his retirement tour, even if it was for like a Raw main event.
I know.
So I kind of, he's the one who also tends to like post on in sort of in character, and I know he's been upset about like being overlooked. Yeah. So so I don't know how much of that is character and how much that's real, because that's
ribbon on the square.
Yeah. So I totally buy him, and say basically you have to fight Jay, and Jay is like on another level compared to where Miz is now. I that was impressive for Miz to say that, but that he's still gonna do it. But yeah, he made a match I would otherwise have no interest in. Like, this might be fun. So
yeah. I did like him saying the critics will cry and the internet will whine. Like, just I mean, his character exists in that realm in character, so I'm fine bringing that realm into it. And I don't know. I mean, it's nice for him to call us out, the critics. I don't know if I'd cry. I guess I'd cry a little. I mean, I guess I would, in not like tear cry, but like just be like, come on, this is just Cena wrestling safe opponents. Let's have Cena do something that helps position WWE better. Give a rub to. I mean, my argument for Dom has always been give Dom a big moment. It's like Miz got with Cena. Like, just give Dom a big high profile moment. It's not NBC. It's like Peacock. It's not the old big deal broadcast network thing. It's not. If they don't deliver something huge, it's not like this huge deal, because it just said its main event isn't what it once was. But Still would be nice. But Austin Theory is intriguing. And if they had a story in mind, if they're willing to put Austin Theory against Cena, they're putting a lot of thought into the story they're telling. Okay, we have some mid-card stuff we haven't covered here. Rey Fenix, Tala Tonga. Tala gets a win. Sami Zayn runs out with a chair to save Rey from a Phoenix from a post-match attack. Do you like Rey Fenix kind of being sacrificed to Tala Tonga? Tala hasn't been defined up or down yet. He's just sort of the guy heavy at ringside who doesn't get a lot of action. What do you think of the match that Rey was able to get out of Tala? And what do you think of the finish? I know there was some chaos.
The match was fine. I like the fact that Tala's got his face paint on, because he's still kind of got like a little bit of baby fat, so he doesn't look as menacing as he should for for the character they're trying to play. He looks young. So with the face paint, that actually makes him feel a little bit more threatening. Plus for the entire group too. But yeah, I thought it was fine. They mentioned his New Japan background. They also lowered their expectation by saying that he's new at this. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. I have to figure that Rey Fenix at some point soon is going to end up teaming back up with Penta at some point soon. Just because the way that there was really no shenanigans, it was just a straight up win. So, and that's not like the way the WWE generally books, unless they're planning on doing something different with your character. So I could totally see, I could totally see Phoenix going back to and Penta teaming up at some point soon. Otherwise, and then I think that because right now my gut feeling for War Games would probably be two of the members of Wyatt Six, Dragunov, Sami Zayn, and Rey Fenix versus the Tongans. That's kind of like my gut feeling, some sort of permutation of that.
Yeah, I can see that. Paul Repeat says, yeah, they're pushing the MFTs, like it or not. Derek Mitchell says, MFTs with Solo is a weaker version of the Bloodline. If you were a fan of the Dukes of Hazzard, which I was as a kid, they reminded me of Coy and Vance Duke, temporarily replacing Bo and Luke, who held out for, I think, higher raises, and they left, and they thought they could replace him. It was the original, Diesel and Razor Ramon failure. It's a fun look up the details on that. I remember as a kid just going, these aren't the same thing. They're not Bo and Luke. Goodfella says, I like Solo and MFTs as a mid-card faction. I do think Tama Tonga has earned a solo run. Derek says the MFTs look like the baseball furries from the Warriors. And let's see. Oh, and Goodfella just goes, the match was solid. Rey against Tala. Derek says, I'm glad Rey Fenix wrestled one-on-one against Tala Tonga and not in a random tag match with a random partner. And yeah, okay.
To be fair, they haven't been meant to be random partners. It's just they haven't stayed around by after.
Yeah. So Goodfella says Dom versus Cena, I think, interests me the most right now. Let's see what happens. Could Nick Aldis have just seen Dom's name? Dom at LA Knight. I mean, his reaction fits Dom, right? I mean, it's not. I think he'd
be more rolling his eyes than happy about it. That's the thing, because Dom's still a scumbag. We looking if we were the ones bringing out the bingo ball and looking at it, we would have been like, oh yeah, this sounds like pretty cool. This would be an interesting match for him. But I think Aldis knows Dom enough to be like, oh, this guy.
Yeah. Goodfella says I roll for sure. LOL. Okay, another mid-card match here. Julia against Chelsea Green. I didn't have Chelsea Green pinning Julia in 2 minutes as my prediction here. There was, obviously some distraction with Kiana James and Alba Fire at ringside. But what did you think of that decision?
That was surprising. I'm thinking that the whole point is just to move Julia up the card, would be my guess. Have her lose the title. Normally you would see like a triple threat and she loses the title by not taking the pin. This is another way. It's just like, some crazy shenanigans happens and she lost in 2 minutes. It doesn't hurt her. It was just like a slip on a banana peel moment. And now you have her ready I'm wondering, consider the fact that Jade Cargill's the champ, maybe they're setting up as a future champion, and maybe you're going to make Julia babyface.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but yeah, it was. It just feels like it was a reason to get it off Julia.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so Ethan Page showed up at ringside, or was at ringside, and they noted that Graves said that he holds the AAA mixed tag team titles with Chelsea Green. And my first thought was, do not give Tony Khan any ideas. Although if I'm going to play the bit, I should go that Tony, because I'm now for a new title in AEW being introduced on the first Wednesday of every month for all of eternity. So I want the first Wednesday in December. I want Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone to proudly announce the AEW mixed tag team championships, because we can't let AAA and WWE have all the fun here. Do you make anything of Ethan Page though being presented on TV? They didn't have to do that. Is that a hint that he is maybe going to be called up soon, or maybe part of the Cena tournament? Because I mean, Ethan Page would be an interesting. Let's give a boost to a heel. There's a lot of reasons not to do it. I get it. I mean, because so many people don't know who he is. He's on a show that isn't seen by as many people. He was a mid-carder in AEW, unfortunately, I guess you could say. But if they believe in him and they want to introduce him hot, like, just let's just do this out of nowhere push of this heel. He loses to Cena, but he becomes a name from something coming out of it. I don't know. What do you think?
WWE has kind of like shown that they're not into like the surprising thing. The closest they've done is with Vakir winning it so soon, the title so soon. But like, when I said that she should have just won it on the first day, I mean, Ethan Page would be. There's a slot there that you could get somebody insta over that people are not into, that people don't know, by beating Cena. And the thing about Ethan Page is that Ethan Page could talk himself into stuff. So,
yep.
So he has that. I mean, I don't watch NXT, but when I loved him in TNA, or Impact at the time.
AEW. Going back to
no,
TNA,
Impact. Yeah. AEW, they used him for a cup of coffee, and then he wasn't one of Tony Khan's favorite toys. So, but I loved him back then in during Impact, and yeah, I think he could. He's not going to be your best wrestler, but I think like overall he fits kind of like the LA Knight role, where he's he could get the job done in the ring, and talk himself up. So I think he's one of those that you could just slide on in, have him beat Cena, or not even beat him. Cena could beat him, but the fact he gets to be the last match for Cena could immediately put him on people's radar. Yep.
I think there's a way to make that work. Okay, some comments on this. Goodfella says, Ethan is interesting. I like it. It's an honor to be in the tournament. It'd be nice for his resume. Paldo repeats, says, NXT let Ethan Page shine, and he's shown bright. Derek Mitchell says, I think Ethan Page has made quite a resume for himself on NXT since leaving AEW. Darrell says Ethan is someone they need right now in SmackDown because he's a heel. They can slide in as a guy who can face Cody in a program. Goodfella says, shout out to Ethan. He's doing great work too. And I'm glad people are calling him Ethan because there's too many Pages in wrestling. Go with a more distinct name to make it clear who you're talking about. Like Logan Paul. I always call him Logan. I mean, because Paul doesn't even sound like a last name. And now he's hanging out with Paul Heyman. You have to call him Logan or a full name because no one's going to know who you're talking about then. I don't believe in the only use the last name gimmick. Like Cody Rhodes went as Cody for a while. He dropped Rhodes. Like, just call him Cody. Then there's no confusion with Dustin or Dusty or anything. And so, yeah, when you have a very common part of your name, your people are going to refer to you by the more distinct part of that name, and Ethan works.
It's hilarious because when I do the primers, I actually like, am I going with the last name or one of the first one? Do I want to both use them? I always just stress over that.
I do too. I put I mean, as an editor, it's just my brain works that way. I just think, do we follow a strict rule of last name always? And I can't argue with that as a policy. But then when they're not real names, they're stage names. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think some people have bland last names and very distinctive first names, and you call them by their first name then. Yeah.
I tend to use for heels their last name and for baby faces their first. So that's kind of like what,
Interesting.
It's like, hey, you're my buddy. And they're like, because I caught myself doing Cargill and I'm writing Cargill. I'm like, but Jade is more of a, Jade is Jade. So,
like if they could go by a single name, like if you could imagine them dropping their last name, which Vince has done a lot, you kind of go like if David Bowie's name was Bowie David, everyone would call him Bowie. No, like so. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example where I don't have to like reverse it to make the point. If I don't know. I'm just thinking of rock stars, and I'm sure there's some out there where it's just they have the distinct first name, and that's what everyone called them, and they don't even think about their last name. And I think that's fine. The art of stage names, you just go with that. Even in writing, the goal of writing is it's more than anything. Although I'm a stickler for having a consistent justification to stylizing things, or word choices and stuff. But the goal ultimately, you want to serve your readers. You just want them to know who you're talking about. And if you say Page instead of Hangman, people are gonna be like, "Oh wait, Ethan Page is back," or Cage. Like, is it Christian Cage or Brian Cage? It's not. It's Christian. It's not Cage. It's Christian. Everybody knows he's Christian. Brian Cage, you kind of got to use the full name or just the last name. But so anyway, this is boring for people. I find this interesting. I got to deal with this all the time. It's my career. It's part of it. On the writing side of things. Elton John, says Derek Mitchell. Yeah, nobody goes, "Oh, I really like John in the 70s." But I like his early stuff before his voice went baritone. No one says John. They say Elton. Thank you. All right. Paul Driver Pete goes, "I have to think very hard when I talk about Danielson because of the name change." For sure. Yep. For sure. Paul Driver Pete goes, "I go with whatever is easier to spell."
Sometimes I do go with like, okay, 4 letters versus 8. Yeah, let me go with the 4 letters.
It's hard to type McDonough for a variety of reasons, including it's spelled kind of weird. And so it's so easy to just do JD, but I'm like the last holdout in the world for putting dots after initials. Like I do C.M.Punk because it's not, especially because of stylizing. It's not, it's CM and it stands for chick magnet. I mean, it's like JD stands for something. AJ stands for, it's not Aj. So put the dots there. And I've wasted way too many minutes of my life, hours of my life, adding dots when people send in articles and they don't put the periods after the initials. I should probably try to get that time back sometime. But I don't even know. Now I'm off on some weird tangent that I don't even know where I was going. Like I get a kick out of people who spell LA Knight. They don't put L dot or L dot A dot. It's like it's because it's not La Night, but that's what people La. Like people. So anyway, all right. It's late in the show. We're almost done. If you're still with us, sorry.
Granted, control copy, control paste is always your friend too. So
yeah.
Or sometimes not when you misspell it.
Yes. Yeah, that's so inside baseball. All right. Let's see. Oh, Sami Zayn. I want to get him in. What are they doing with him? He wants to help. Nick Aldis goes, "You're a liability. You're not medically cleared." He runs out with a chair anyway. Where do you think they're going with this? What story are they telling?
Haven't been fond of Sami Zayn for a bit.
Why not?
Just it's just the how they punted, and it's not his fault. Let me just it's the way he's been used. The way they just he's in the title picture, and then they just completely punted it. Where you had that one. I first started talking about it when you had that one event where they're like, "Oh, we're to have this." I think it was like 5 men to see who's going to be the number 1 contender, and you didn't put Sami Zayn in. Said you give him the Intercontinental when he had just been offered a title shot over in the other brand, and then he ends up going to the other brand anyway. So it's just been messy, and I think they're trying too hard to make him like Cody Light now, like the consummate babyface who helps, who comes out and helps.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jey Uso Light. I mean, notwithstanding the recent stuff they're doing with Jey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's not really working for me in that respect. So yeah, I haven't really been into it, but that's I think what they're doing. He's coming across as Cody Light, where he's just going to be the locker room leader kind of character.
Is he in for a big push next year at the World Rumble, maybe winning, getting a world title shot, or do you think the trajectory now feels different than that?
I think it feels different than I do. I don't think that it's there because I think they basically. I think that Jey Uso and Sami Zayn were occupying the same spot,
mm-hmm.
and they had to choose one of them. And you might even put LA Knight in there. and I think that he was just the one body that was too many.
Mhm.
And I think I mean, because that's why I bring up, you know, the 5 men that they used to see who the next number one contender was going to be, and he didn't make the cut because they were other people. And I think that was the most telling thing. You know, particularly when on that same show he had gone to not all this to Pierce and said, you know, hey, I want you know, I want a shot. And then Pierce said, yeah, don't worry, you'll get your shot at some point. And then he and then that was the same show where he books the five matches, the 5-way. And then I'm like, oh, that's not a good look. And then like right after that, it was like when Solo attacked him, and it became about the U.S. title. I'm like, oh, and now he's going after the U.S. title. I think they decided that there's more equity in Jey Uso, and they could use LA Knight more freely, because if you damage LA Knight, I don't think they care. I'm sorry to say, you know, if they hurt LA Knight, you know, and they don't want to necessarily hurt Sami Zayn, because you could build him up if, you know, the spot opens up. I think that's where he's kind of is. It feels like he's kind of like where I would put Drew, but like on a lower level. Like Drew's there on the main event stage. Sami Zayn's down in the mid card stage in the same spot.
Yeah. Couple comments on Derek Mitchell says, are they saving Sami Zayn winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi? Goodfellas says, if Sami's going to win the Rumble, he needs to start heating up quick. And Standard Deviation says, yeah, Sami's going to win the Rumble. How soon is too soon to heat him up? That feels a little rhetorical. And then Derek says, I still feel like Sami will never be as hot as he was heading into Elimination Chamber 2023 against Roman Reigns in Montreal. Well, you can be really, really hot as a character again and not be as hot as then. I mean, you could be not as hot as that and still headline a WrestleMania in a world title match. I mean, Sami was so hot at that point. I agree. That probably is peak for him, though. Standard Deviation said Sami would be great in Jay's role, and Jay turning heel would accentuate Sami's story. So Sami replacing Jay would be a win-win. All right. Let's wrap up here. Oh, you know what? Before I do, 316 MMA says Liv should win the Rumble this year. How would you book her return and why? Is that a good call, Liv Morgan, with the whole, because she has this whole other storyline set up for her. Winning the Rumble could actually kind of get in the way of just telling the story that they might want to tell with Judgment Day and everything going on there. I don't know if she needs a Rumble win to come back with something to do, and you might want to save the Rumble win for somebody who you think is more ready to, you know, kind of be a co-headliner at WrestleMania, either a new star from NXT that you believe in and you want to get a big win to, or of a Care or a Julia if you're trying to christen them and cement them as top tier, or you just want Charlotte. I mean, again, it could backfire, but you want, like, say, Charlotte earned this against Jade. It's inevitable. So I don't know. I don't see Liv benefiting a ton, Javier, from winning the Rumble, in the sense that it just might get in the way of the storyline that's waiting for.
Yeah, unless you're, because I think that could be with whatever she's doing with the Judgment Day. I could think that could be the not main event.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A match in WrestleMania. So I agree with you on that, and I think that the the Rumble winner for the women might be Bianca Belair. Just so you could, if it's a surprise return, have her be a surprise. And well, I mean, surprise, because it is in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be, you know, hard to keep surprises with that kind of travel. But I think Bianca Belair, and to set her up against Jade Cargill as the opponent, because you know, and because you could draw out a little bit of the drama on who she's going to choose. And then Jade could be playing up well, you're my friend. You're not going to choose me, right? And then she said, well, I've seen what you've been doing. So there's a lot more story you could do with her there. If you're going to put Liv, like, let's say you're not going to do something with her in Judgment Day, or somehow somebody in Judgment Day has the title. In that case, she could win the Elimination Chamber and, like, have her go through a more arduous process to get there. And
it's a long ways from now, so we'll get some hints along the way. With Liv, though, like Derek Mitchell says, I think they haven't gotten Liv into the Roxanne and Dom storyline since her absence, and I feel like they need to build that up. I think they drop hints all the time about it. She's framed in the background in pictures. Dom said, I would never cheat. I've never cheated ever. And Roxanne's like, uh-oh. I mean, they're
and I feel stronger on that
Yeah.
reaction because on this Monday, Roxanne Perez has been more like friendly, like I'm gonna give you a back rub, kind of, kind of like a touchy feely kind of person. So I feel better that the previous time I was on with you that I said that I called out that reaction. I feel stronger about it now because they've done more with more subtly than that, but they've been doing more with that.
Yeah. Piled over Pete says, I feel like the more Roxanne gets involved with Dom, the closer Liv is to coming back. Yeah, they don't want to heat it up too much until Liv is ready. So you'll get more of a sense it's imminent when they really start heating that up again. Roxanne doing good work now, but Bianca versus Jade is the match, says Goodfella. Adding Liv might come for Finn and not Roxanne. So yeah, they got some stories there. I don't think you need to spend the Rumble win on her, nor do I think you necessarily should. I just don't think as interesting as Liv is, as invaluable as she is as a character. If you're a Liv fan, I don't get hung up on her. She needs to win the Rumble. She needs to headline WrestleMania. Just root for her to be in a good storyline that fits her character and gives her a reason to be on TV. You don't always have to be in the main event to be really well utilized. Standard Deviation said Dom is primed to be hotter than ever for next year's WrestleMania. All right, let's bring Jason D from Australia into the conversation. This will probably be the last segment of the show. Jason, welcome. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, thanks, Wade and Javier. I'll make it quick because I was listening to you talk about like John Cena and Austin Theory, and I'm a big fan of Austin Theory, right? I know there's some people that aren't, as you said, Wade. There's some.
Just one or two. Everyone else sees what we see, Jason.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm a fan of his as a babyface. I think he has a lot of babyface potential, right? So the thing with John Cena, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose against John Cena. It's how he interacts with you and how he treats you verbally and how he looks at you. So, for example, AJ Styles, even though he lost this match here in Perth, I mean, Cena put him over. He put him on an equal level with John Cena. So with the introduction and just the way that he looked at him, the way that he treated him. So with Austin Theory, right, even though Austin Theory defeated John Cena at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, it didn't count for anything because all the fans remember is how Cena treated Austin Theory when he spoke to him in the ring and pretty much emasculated him and said, I don't believe anything about you. So if they want to get Austin Theory to a point where he's a strong babyface, they need to tie up that bow and have Cena talk to Austin Theory in a positive way if Austin Theory comes back as a babyface and changes his attitude. Because what you do in the ring against Cena doesn't count. It's how he treats you. So with Austin Theory, and people talk about him joining the Vision, I actually would like to see the Vision try and recruit Theory, but Theory knock him back and try and be his own man and have Cena say, now I believe in this Austin Theory. And just because it's how Cena speaks to you is what fans remember. Because a lot of times in wrestling, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose against someone, because for a lot of fans, that's like, well, that's predetermined. But what you say to the guy, and if you lose a promo battle, you come across bad, that actually holds more gravitas. So if you want to get Theory to that level, have Cena put him over verbally. And I think that's the way to go. So that's what I would like to see there. That's the main point I'm calling up, because I see a lot of potential in Theory. I think he could be a breakout babyface. And they can get there with Cena before he leaves. They just have to tie up that little bow. And
maybe Cena maybe he was hard on Theory because he sees something in Theory that reminds him of him. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not ruling it out. And what you say is makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So cool. Jason, anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, that's just about it, really.
No, they're good. It's okay.
You pretty much covered everything else.
Like we said about the Jade promo, sometimes just get in, do your thing, and get out, and it's good. Thanks, Jason. Good hearing from you again. Oh, what?
Well, let me just say regarding Jade. Now, I love that promo, and I've been waiting for this because I went back and forth of AEW over the years, but I really enjoyed. I don't particularly care about how she's in the ring as long as she's not injuring people and dropping them on their head. I'm happy with that. I like this attitude. I like the fact she's just going to take everyone by storm. And for Bianca Belair to come back and try and put her in her place and show more of an attitude from Bianca, that's what I'm looking forward to. So I'm happy with what they're doing with Jade. This is a good start. Very, very happy with it.
Cool. Glad I brought her up. Thanks, Jason. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take it easy, guys. See ya.
You bet.
Talk later.
Javier, anything else you want to bring up before we sign off today?
I mean, I don't know what you want to make out of this, but we opened up talking about the stuff that happened, and we didn't really talk about Priest, so that probably says something.
Well, what does it say?
The fourth person on there, not as hot as he was. I mean, the only thing I have to add to that is that I am amazed with Black's Monophthalophilia. Probably butchered that. That's amazing. The fact that he's doing the eye thing since when Seth Rollins took out his eye, and he's been obsessed with that. I mean, because it's all his a lot of his stories are about that. Now they're like hitting hard. The fact that this guy's eyes hurt. He's still, he has that one contact because in AEW his face was like rotting because of what had happened, and now he's here and now he's wearing the contact. And he just did that to this guy. Black is interesting. Is an interesting dude because he's all this stuff obviously is not like, I don't think it's coming from the writing team. I'm thinking it's coming from Black.
Interesting. Well, Javier, you stayed in focus for over an hour and a half. You're now out of focus. That is a sign. So we'll sign off. Derek Mitchell says, I think they need to rinse the residue of Theory's past, and hopefully he can be rehabilitated going forward. Goodfellas says, Aleister Black in the main event felt fresh. I liked it. It was just nice, Black, like being in the ecosystem and present, and not just sitting in a back room and whatever. So, yeah, I want him more in the mix. Powder Pete says, they definitely hit the Priest window at the prime time. He peaked, and now he's down the card. That's not a slight. And that's the thing. Priest had bonus time on the top. That's what I felt about Jay. It's like not every wrestler who gets a big push, if they don't continue to get a big push, is a sign of failure. Sometimes you're just buying time until you bring other people back up the card, and now it feels fresher because you weren't burning them out and rerun feuds. And we've seen that where top guys just are on top too much. And so if you can, it's like the NBA, you got a bench player. He's there to just play some defense or hit some threes or, whatever, just to give a breather to the starters. And that's what, Jey Uso's push was. It's not a failure because he's not at his peak. Sammy's not a failure because he's not going to repeat Montreal. And Priest isn't a failure because he's not where he was when he was overachieving and having this unexpected, unlikely run. Every once in a while it sticks and it stays, but it's fine if you just get 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 or 15 months out of somebody and then they just settle back to where kind of their water level is. That's just bonus that they had that run. Like Derek says, Priest flew at a high altitude and now he's coming down to earth. And Pile Driver Pizza, that's why I advocate for a Knight title run. And Knight should only be in a title run if it makes sense and it doesn't get in the way of anything else. Like Seth went down, I would have been fine with LA Knight having a run with the title, but I don't know that you want to deliberately plan around an LA Knight title reign. I think there's other better options. I'm not as down as it used to be, but I think as a kind of a utility move due to something else happening unexpected or just a bridge to, whatever. Someone goes off to film a movie, that type of thing. Let's just give Knight a few months. But I'm fine with it not happening also. All right, cool. Javier, awesome. Thank you. Glad we could talk wrestling tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Go search PWTorch right now and check out this week's Acknowledging WWE podcast. It is free for everyone. Of course, you can get the commercial-free version and all our VIP exclusive shows with a VIP membership. But you don't need to do that. You can work your way towards that by at least subscribing to the Daily Cast and downloading this week's Acknowledging WWE. We've got the 90s Past Cast. We've got the pay-per-view post shows, Wrestling Latin America, the NXT show. We've got the AEW show. We've got covering the indie scene. Lots of great shows on our PWTorch Daily Cast feed. And then, of course, be sure you don't miss out on the flagship edition on our Blue Logo show. Search Wade Keller. And, of course, subscribe to the podcast version of this show so you don't miss the things that aren't on YouTube that we put up on that feed also. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.